Amid escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine, the Russian Ministry of Defense recently released a shocking video showing a Russian Iskander-M missile completely destroying a modern Ukrainian air defense system in just 40 seconds. Captured by a reconnaissance UAV, the footage clearly depicts the swift and precise annihilation of command and support vehicles belonging to the Ukrainian Air Defense Unit. This was not only a powerful military strike, but also a strategic warning aimed at the West, particularly nations supplying weapons to Ukraine. The targeted system was developed by Germany and had been touted as one of Europe's most effective air defense shields. However, its claim of near-perfect interception capabilities was shattered under the force of Russia's short-range Iskander-M missile. Militarily, the destruction of an air defense system worth tens of millions of dollars in such a short span marks a significant loss for Ukraine. It demonstrates Russia's meticulous preparation in tactics and logistics for conducting precise strikes that significantly weaken the opponent's air defense capabilities. Moreover, the incident raises questions about Ukraine's ability to maintain air defense superiority, especially when newly pledged systems from Germany could also be quickly neutralized without adequate protection. This strike underscores Russia's resolve to assert control on the battlefield and apply intense pressure on Ukraine and its Western allies. In a related development, the United States has recently decided to double import tariffs on steel and aluminum products, a move that not only impacts domestic industries, but also sends shockwaves through global supply chains, with Ukraine being one of the hardest-hit nations. The decision comes as the U.S. aims to shield its domestic metal industries from foreign competition, but it also places significant strain on major trading partners and interconnected economies. For Ukraine, the increased tariffs mean a sharp rise in input costs for its manufacturing and construction sectors. Steel and aluminum are critical materials for rebuilding infrastructure and supporting defense needs amid ongoing conflict in Eastern Europe. This added financial burden puts enormous pressure on Ukraine's national budget and hampers the effectiveness of international aid programs. Additionally, the shift in U.S. trade policy disrupts supply chains across the region, slowing post-war economic recovery. Experts warn that without timely adjustments, the competitiveness of Ukrainian goods in global markets could decline, leading to further negative consequences. Overall, the U.S. tariff hike on steel and aluminum presents serious challenges for Ukraine's industrial resilience and economic recovery, posing broader threats to regional stability and development. Meanwhile, the United States has officially declined to provide logistical and air support for peacekeeping operations in Ukraine, sparking concern among experts and international observers about the future of this initiative. The U.S. decision reflects its cautious stance on direct military involvement on Ukrainian soil, especially amid the ongoing high tensions with Russia. The lack of logistical and air support poses major obstacles to effective peacekeeping, as these elements are essential for supplying troops, maintaining equipment, and securing airspace for ground operations. Without them, peacekeepers risk isolation and operational difficulties, potentially compromising their safety and mission success. The decision also highlights America's careful assessment of the political and military consequences of deeper involvement in Ukraine, raising questions about the feasibility of international cooperation to maintain peace in Eastern Europe. Nevertheless, the U.S. remains committed to supporting Ukraine through economic and non-combat military aid, showing Washington's continued backing of Ukraine, but through a cautious approach aimed at avoiding further escalation. In sum, the U.S. refusal to support logistics and air operations for peacekeeping missions in Ukraine carries deep political and military implications, while creating further hurdles for efforts to stabilize the region. Within the European Union, growing internal divisions have become increasingly apparent in the bloc's policy towards supporting Ukraine. While the EU has pledged broad support, from economic to military assistance, member states differ in priorities and strategies, leading to significant disagreements over how and to what extent Ukraine should be helped. Key nations like Germany, France, and Poland advocate for stronger military and financial aid, viewing such support as both a moral obligation and a strategy to ensure European security. In contrast, several Eastern European countries, facing economic challenges or adopting more cautious stances, fear that excessive support could prolong the conflict and strain the EU's internal economy. Diverging diplomatic approaches also fuel discord, as some members push for tougher sanctions on Russia, while others emphasize dialogue and peaceful resolution. These differences cause delays or minimal compromises in critical EU decisions on Ukraine, weakening policy effectiveness and revealing fractures in strategic alignment. This internal split challenges the EU's ability to maintain unity and influence on the global stage. The bloc faces a difficult task in balancing robust support for Ukraine with internal cohesion and long-term stability, a balance that will shape the EU's future role in regional and international affairs. Meanwhile, a 70-minute phone call between former U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin drew intense global political and media attention. It was one of the rare direct conversations between two influential leaders amid soaring U.S.-Russia tensions. The call addressed multiple urgent issues, including the conflict in Eastern Europe, cybersecurity disputes, and reciprocal sanctions. The two leaders discussed possible diplomatic steps and measures to de-escalate military tensions, as well as potential areas for cooperation. However, the dialogue also featured sharp disagreements, particularly over Russia's role in the Ukraine crisis and the U.S. actions to limit Russian global influence. These differences reflect the persistent and deep rifts that hinder immediate progress in bilateral relations. Publicly, the phone call was seen as both a chance to reduce conflict through direct communication and a clear indication of unresolved tensions between the two powers. Political analysts caution that, despite the length of the conversation, substantial breakthroughs in U.S.-Russia relations remain elusive. Overall, the Trump-Putin call offered a vivid illustration of the current global political landscape. Complex, contentious, and marked by prolonged tensions, requiring mutual understanding and long-term collaboration to prevent more severe consequences. Finally, Ukraine is edging toward a full-scale national crisis, driven by both internal and external pressures. Security-wise, ongoing conflict with Russian-backed separatists continues to escalate, with frequent attacks and skirmishes causing heavy losses among both military forces and civilians. Eastern Ukraine remains a hotspot, undermining nationwide stability. Economically, Ukraine is grappling with soaring inflation, rising costs, energy shortages, and supply chain disruptions, which are severely impacting citizens' daily lives. National resources are being depleted, and international loans and aid remain insufficient to address urgent needs. Politically, internal divisions and government infighting delay decision-making and reduce policy effectiveness. Externally, major powers pursue differing interests, further complicating Ukraine's geopolitical landscape. Western support, while present, is limited in scope and cannot swiftly resolve the crisis. Ukraine stands at a tipping point, requiring unity and decisive leadership to overcome these challenges. Without strategic actions and adequate international backing, a full-blown crisis with dire consequences may be unavoidable. Thank you for staying with us. Please continue to follow for the latest updates. We wish you a peaceful day.